Happy New Year, everyone! Today I have a new marker drawing for you all featuring my favorite villager Judy from Animal Crossing and using some awesome new art supplies from Ohuhu. I was really honored to be able to test out their new pastel brush marker line as well as this really awesome marker paper pad that made it so easy to draw on. I haven't used brush markers in a while and I really miss them. They're actually one of my favorite illustration tools because the brush tip is very similar to how I would paint using a regular paintbrush. I also really appreciated that this set was primarily focused on pastel colors because I actually like to mix my marker drawings with some colored pencil and other dry mediums to create kind of a layered mixed media look, and having a pastel foundation is just perfect for me. I actually rarely use super dark or saturated markers. The marker pad was especially cool because not only was the paper smooth and perfect, just to my liking, but it also came with this nifty little protective plastic film. It's like this bendy, smooth sheet of plastic that you can stick underneath your paper so that when you draw with the alcohol-based markers, the ink does not bleed through to the page underneath. I think this functionality is especially useful if you like to keep drawing in your sketchbook and don't want to keep having to tear out pages or stick random things underneath your page. Very clever design. I used these specific colors for this drawing, but I'll be posting all of the information along with product links down in the video description if you want to try some out for yourself. Okay, let's move on to the time-lapse portion of the video. I'm so excited to share this progress with you all. I have never done any sort of Animal Crossing fan art. Actually, I rarely do fan art in general, so this was a really fun process for me, not only to just share my love of this wonderful game that has been such a great escape from reality for so many of us during this hectic year, but also it was just fun to try out this more cartoony illustrative style. There's something so calming and almost therapeutic about just patiently and slowly layering a bunch of marker colors and just kind of losing myself in this bright, colorful, and happy pastel world. My illustration process is in some ways very similar to how I paint, in the sense that I do still love to blend and layer things on very gradually and softly. Even though at the beginning of this process, I actually planned for the drawing to have a slightly different look and feel. I wanted to go for something more simple, more flat. I didn't want it to just look like an oil painting. And this is the mock-up I made in Photoshop to kind of demonstrate what I was going for, what I was aiming for. But instead, as you can see, I just could not stop myself from continuously blending and layering and making sure all the shadows were super soft and all the gradients were super smooth. It's like a compulsive muscle reflex that I can't even control. But it turned out okay because I really enjoyed how 3D everything looked, despite not really going with my initial plan. And that's one of the things I actually really adore about the creative process, is that no matter how much you try to plan for something to go a certain way, it's almost like your artwork sometimes has a mind of its own, and it won't always follow the exact trajectory or path that you set forth for it, but it can still surprise you with unexpected twists and turns that ultimately end up being very delightful. By the way, if you want a more in-depth look into how I created this drawing, I have a 60-minute version of this video in a tutorial format, along with hundreds of hours of exclusive content. You can find all of it at patreon.com/happydartist. So, one interesting tidbit about this drawing is that it's actually my second attempt that you're watching right now. I started on this drawing initially with the preparation of coloring in the background the same way that I had it done in my digital mock-up. But I ran into two major issues that mostly stemmed from the nature of markers in general and also my lack of experience with using markers. The first issue stems from my attempt to cover up this large surface area with the relatively fixed size small brush tip, which resulted in these unavoidable streaks that you see here. The second issue was that I couldn't find the exact shade of light pink to match the background of my digital mock-up, which isn't the fault of the marker company that they didn't happen to produce this one specific color. And even though you can mix two markers by layering them on top of each other like I'm doing now, the resulting color will always be darker the more you layer, which makes it very hard to create or mix a lighter shade. So even though the technique that I'm used to is first to create a digital mock-up and then to make my original artwork emulate that digital mock-up, I realized I can't have the same approach when it comes to marker drawings, just because the tools are not as flexible as you would get with oils or acrylics or any sort of painting medium. Mixing colors is just a little bit more challenging and more restrictive when it comes to markers. So ultimately, I decided that instead of trying to force my original drawing to look exactly like the mock-up, I should instead just make the best of the tools and color options that I had available to me. Reflecting back on it now, I think the reason why my first attempt was such a mess was because I was trying to fight against the nature of these markers in order to make my drawing look like a digital painting, which is impossible because this is not a digital medium. This is an original drawing made with markers and pencils, so there will always be limitations to what I can do. And once I finally gave up trying to force this medium to behave like something it's not, and instead just embraced the unique traits of the tools at my disposal, I ended up liking the end result way more than the concept I had initially planned. This piece really taught me the importance of improvisation and flexibility. If we give ourselves the option to deviate from our plans, we might end up being pleasantly surprised by the outcome of this newfound freedom. And plus, if I wanted a solid light pink background, I could always just do it in post-production with Photoshop, which is exactly what I did after scanning this drawing. And there you have it! Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was entertaining and inspiring. The original drawing with the white background and fine art prints with the pink background are both available now in my shop at happyd-artist.com. Also, since the chaos of 2020 seems to be spilling into 2021, why not continue my year-long sale into January? I don't know how I got into this habit of keeping the sale going as long as I am under self-imposed lockdown, but if you want 20% off of your order of prints and originals, just enter the code HOLIDAY at happyd-artist.com. And if you're interested in learning more about how to paint and draw, I have lots of art educational content on my Patreon page, including exclusive video tutorials, step-by-step photo tutorials, live streams, podcasts, and even surprise art gift boxes. All available at patreon.com/happydartist. I'd love to have you join my Patreon family. Also, if you want to check out more artworks, works in progress, and just random daily artist adventures, feel free to check out my Instagram, and you can follow me at the handle @happydartist.